Who is eligible to marry Princess Leonor of Spain? The continuity test. The crown does not choose emotionally. It chooses structurally. The palace is still, but not silent. Light falls across corridors lined with portraits of those who came before, eyes fixed forward, as if reminding every observer that permanence requires vigilance. Outside, Madrid hums with life, unaware that the decisions being considered here will ripple beyond borders, beyond headlines, beyond memory. For Princess Leonor of Spain, eligibility is never personal. It is measured against continuity. Every potential consort is examined not for charm, nor for whim, but for alignment with an institution that has endured centuries. Love is a private consideration. Stability is public policy. History whispers its instructions. Monarchs who prioritized affection over structure left the crown weakened, their missteps etched into law and ceremony alike. Authority eroded slowly, subtly, until it became impossible to reclaim. National identity is woven into these rituals, each choice matters. At 2 minutes, consider what many assume they know. The crown does not simply approve partners. It evaluates structural compatibility. It tests discipline, discretion, and capacity to absorb scrutiny without shifting the balance of power. This is the first lesson most fail to grasp. By minute 5, the phrase returns, heavier now. The crown does not choose emotionally. It chooses structurally. The weight of this principle frames everything that follows. What is unseen carries more consequence than what is observed. A single misalignment, a misjudged temperament, a misunderstood boundary, can compromise legitimacy. The ripple is felt not only in Spain but across Washington, London, Ottawa, Canberra, and Berlin, where institutional credibility is watched as closely as any political outcome. Minute 8 introduces a deeper mystery. Certain compatibilities cannot be quantified. They cannot be approved by protocol alone. Yet they are essential. Discipline, patience, the ability to defer personal desire in service of the crown, these qualities cannot be taught, only observed. They exist quietly, revealed through behavior over time. At 10 minutes, pressure rises. Modern expectation collides with historic requirement. The monarchy exists in a world that demands transparency while still demanding discretion. Curiosity accelerates faster than authority can respond. Even the most careful alignment is tested, and every potential partner is measured against the institution itself, not against affection or charisma. By minute 14, the point of no return becomes clear. Once a relationship becomes symbolic, it no longer belongs to the individual. Public interpretation follows instantly, filtered through media, foreign observation, and institutional precedent. The crown must move first, ensuring that what appears personal cannot undermine what is structural. Minute 19 casts a foreshadowing shadow. Future threats will arrive not as scandal but as misalignment. Partners who misunderstand restraint, who value access over adherence, who mistake influence for intimacy, these are risks that could weaken centuries of continuity. Observers in the United States read this as stability or vulnerability. The United Kingdom interprets discipline as legitimacy. Canada and Australia measure predictability, Germany measures constitutional respect. And now, in the final minute, the phrase returns one last time. The crown does not choose emotionally. It chooses structurally. For Princess Leonor of Spain, the lesson is absolute. Eligibility is not determined by desire. It is determined by the capacity to uphold the institution, to preserve the continuity of a monarchy that transcends any single heart. The corridors are quiet again. Decisions are unannounced, unconfirmed, deliberate. The story is unfinished. The crown remains patient. History waits, as it always does, for the moment when alignment, not emotion, decides what may finally be revealed. The palace remains motionless in the late afternoon light, but its stillness is purposeful. Every step taken, every word spoken, every glance measured, all of it is part of a system designed to endure scrutiny without faltering. For Princess Leonor of Spain, potential partners are never simply companions, they are instruments through which the crown tests resilience, judgment, and adaptability. Discretion is a form of authority here. What is visible is controlled. What is private is not irrelevant, it is decisive. The institution observes, evaluates, and waits, letting patterns emerge slowly, quietly, like sediment settling in water. Only when a pattern proves stable does it gain legitimacy. This is why eligibility is not a matter of emotion. A partner's family, reputation, temperament, and understanding of institutional constraints are all examined with precision. One misstep, one impulsive display, can introduce instability into the Crown's carefully maintained continuity. National identity is not abstract, it is embodied in ceremonial presence, in public confidence, in the measured rhythm of tradition. Observers across the globe notice, even if they do not fully articulate it. In the United States, analysts gauge predictability, the likelihood that the monarchy will act without surprise. In the United Kingdom, advisors study adherence to precedent. In Canada and Australia, continuity without disruption signals stability. In Germany, restraint itself is interpreted as institutional credibility. These readings are cumulative, forming an external pressure as subtle as it is influential. By now, it is apparent that personal affection cannot dictate action. Love may enter quietly, but it must never disrupt the structure. Every interaction is a test, every moment a measurement. The Crown does not operate under whim. It operates under principle. Even the most private gestures are scrutinized for alignment with legacy. How a potential partner handles silence, defers recognition, and respects boundaries speaks louder than any declaration. These qualities, invisible to casual observers, are decisive. They reveal whether the individual can sustain the living thread of continuity or whether they will inadvertently weaken it. Time itself becomes a filter. The institution watches not just for immediate compatibility but for endurance over months and years. Consistency is more valuable than charm. Patience more critical than intimacy. These are not lessons imposed to control, but to preserve what is fragile and infinitely consequential. Princess Leonor of Spain moves within this framework, understanding that the Crown comes first, always. The system does not bend for emotion. It bends only for alignment. And in that alignment lies the future stability of the monarchy, carefully protected, silently enforced, and patiently awaited. What unfolds next remains uncertain. History does not rush to judgment, and the institution never reveals its hand prematurely. Yet every decision, every test, every observation edges closer to a point where continuity will be confirmed, or threatened. The Crown waits, deliberate, exacting, and unyielding. Night descends over the palace, and with it comes another layer of discipline. Shadows stretch across the halls, yet nothing moves without purpose. For Princess Leonor of Spain, the evening is not a respite, it is another stage where potential partners are evaluated in the quiet of observation. Actions, words, and gestures are absorbed, weighed, and recorded by an institution that measures not sentiment but stability. The Crown's decisions are structural, not personal. A glance of impatience, a casual misstep, a failure to understand the rhythm of restraint, all can signal unsuitability. Love, when it appears, must already be compatible with continuity. Otherwise, it becomes friction. And friction, within this system, threatens more than affection, it threatens the legitimacy of centuries. Across continents, the world interprets these nuances. In Washington, it is about predictability and leadership. In London, it is about comprehension of inherited limits and precedent. In Ottawa and Canberra, it is about reassurance that authority will remain consistent. In Berlin, it is about constitutional respect, the quiet sign that tradition has not been compromised. Every international lens is calibrated, every judgment subtle but consequential. What remains deliberately unspoken is as telling as what is known. There are no official statements, no public declarations. Silence is policy. It allows the Crown to test not only behavior but resilience, the ability to endure curiosity, expectation, and scrutiny without faltering. Only when a potential partner demonstrates this endurance does the institution allow proximity. By now, it is clear, the eligibility of a future consort is not determined by affection alone. It is determined by alignment with duty, understanding of continuity, and capacity to absorb the weight of the institution without disruption. The living thread of monarchy cannot bend to emotion. It bends only to structural fidelity. Every day, every interaction, every observation reinforces this principle. For Princess Leonor of Spain, the lesson is consistent: the Crown comes first. Personal desire is secondary. And the system, patient and exacting, will continue to test, measure, and endure, quietly, deliberately, and without compromise, until the alignment necessary to safeguard continuity is beyond question. The palace remains in shadow, but the process moves forward. History watches. The institution waits. And the future, though unannounced and unresolved, edges closer to certainty with every measured decision. Dawn returns slowly, casting pale light across the palace courtyard. Nothing about the routine is ordinary. Every movement, the rise of the flag, the shift of guards, the quiet footsteps through echoing halls, is part of a system designed to sustain authority and project permanence. For Princess Leonor of Spain, this is more than ritual, it is a constant reminder that proximity to the crown is earned, not assumed. Potential partners are assessed not for charm, not for passion, but for durability. Their capacity to respect silence, their understanding of restraint, their ability to endure scrutiny without faltering, all are examined meticulously. A single lapse, however small, could create instability. Continuity is fragile, it must be defended even in the smallest details. Across the globe, observers interpret these patterns as signals of structural stability. In Washington, analysts read the discipline as an indicator of governance under control. In London, it conveys fluency and inherited precedent. In Canada and Australia, it reassures citizens that authority will remain steady and predictable. In Berlin, it reinforces constitutional seriousness. The lesson is clear: the crown's endurance is measured not by ceremony alone, but by how seamlessly private discipline translates into public confidence. By now, it is evident that love is subordinate to duty. Relationships, while allowed to exist, are filtered through the prism of continuity. Compatibility is not just emotional, it is institutional. How a potential partner navigates boundaries, delays gratification, and aligns with ceremonial and structural expectations determines eligibility more than affection ever could. Silence, patience, and observation are the greatest tests. The crown watches not only for immediate alignment but for long-term reliability. Every gesture, every choice, every moment of restraint is recorded in the living memory of the institution. This is the standard that has preserved the monarchy across generations, a quiet but unyielding force. Princess Leonor of Spain moves within this framework with awareness and precision. Her actions are deliberate, her decisions measured, her priorities aligned. The crown comes first. Personal desire is secondary. And yet, the system does not rush. History moves deliberately, awaiting proof of alignment before revealing its hand. Beyond the palace walls, uncertainty persists, but within, the institution endures, patient, exacting, and prepared. Every observation, every interaction, every test brings the monarchy closer to confirming the alignment necessary to sustain continuity, ensuring that when the moment arrives, the crown remains unshaken and unbroken. Afternoon settles over Madrid, and the palace resumes its quiet vigilance. Nothing about these hours is accidental. Each visitor screened, each conversation observed, each ceremonial rehearsal is measured against the standard of continuity. For Princess Leonor of Spain, the lessons of restraint are not abstract, they are lived, moment by moment, in every interaction with those who might approach the inner circle. Potential partners are scrutinized for subtle qualities. How they comport themselves when they are unseen, how they respond when influence is denied, how they respect protocol, all reveal more than public declarations ever could. The crown does not test for charm. It tests for alignment, endurance, and understanding of the system itself. One misjudged impulse, one lapse in judgment, can ripple outward and weaken the authority the monarchy has spent centuries constructing. Across continents, these subtleties are noted even if they are not fully understood. In Washington, restraint signals reliability. In London, it signals respect for precedent. In Ottawa and Canberra, it signals predictability. In Berlin, it signals constitutional seriousness. These external readings, though distant, feed back into the crown's assessment. Perception matters, even when unspoken, because credibility beyond borders reinforces continuity at home. Here, the invisible becomes decisive. Affection alone is irrelevant. Discretion, patience, and the ability to endure curiosity without faltering determine who is truly eligible. The institution does not bend for personal desire. It bends only for alignment. Every step taken within these walls is a rehearsal in discipline. The crown comes first. Decisions that appear subtle or private are in fact deliberate exercises in testing alignment. Silence is not avoidance, it is governance. Observation is not surveillance, it is preservation. Continuity is the measure of all actions, and every interaction is weighed against it. Princess Leonor of Spain moves within this structure with precision. Love may enter, but only if it can coexist with duty. Desire may exist, but only if it does not threaten continuity. And the institution, patient and exacting, continues to observe, measure, and endure, until alignment is proven, and the crown remains unshaken. Outside, the city moves obliviously. Inside, history is being shaped quietly, deliberately, and with the exacting standard that has preserved the monarchy for centuries. The future remains uncertain, but the system endures, unbroken, waiting for the moment when duty, discipline, and alignment converge. Evening drifts over the palace, softening the edges of marble halls and shadowed corridors. Nothing here moves without intent. Every detail, the cadence of footsteps, the quiet exchange of documents, the careful management of visitors, is part of a continuum designed to preserve authority. For Princess Leonor of Spain, this is the living lesson of succession. Proximity to the crown is earned through understanding, not assumption. Potential partners exist under scrutiny that is invisible yet absolute. Their patience, discretion, and adherence to protocol reveal more than public appearances ever could. Charm and affection are insufficient. The crown measures endurance, alignment with tradition, and the capacity to respect boundaries imposed by history itself. One misalignment, no matter how subtle, could compromise the integrity of the institution. The global perspective amplifies the stakes. In the United States, observers note the discipline as a sign of governance under control. In the United Kingdom, it is interpreted as fluency in precedent and inherited responsibility. Canada and Australia read restraint as continuity without disruption, while Germany sees it as constitutional fidelity. These perceptions, though distant, reinforce the Crown's domestic authority. They are not passive judgments but active reflections of structural credibility. Silence, here, is purposeful. It is not secrecy, but strategy. Observation is a test. Behavior under restraint is more telling than any declaration. A potential partner's ability to maintain composure, delay gratification, and honor ceremonial and institutional norms signals eligibility in ways that public displays never could. For Princess Leonor of Spain, love and duty coexist only when the latter frames the former. Desire is secondary, responsibility is primary. The crown comes first. Every interaction, every choice, every measured pause is a rehearsal in discipline, a demonstration of alignment. History teaches that those who fail to recognize this hierarchy weaken not only themselves but the institution they approach. Night deepens. The palace is quiet, yet alive with observation. Every test continues. Every decision moves closer to revealing who is truly aligned with the living thread of continuity. And through it all, the crown endures, steady, deliberate, unbroken, awaiting the moment when alignment and duty will converge, ensuring that the monarchy remains resilient, credible, and unshaken, whatever the world outside may assume. The hours pass with deliberate rhythm. In the private chambers, time is measured not by clocks but by observation. Every conversation, every glance, every hesitation is noted, assessed, and weighed against the standards that have preserved the monarchy for centuries. For Princess Leonor of Spain, these hours are instructive. Eligibility is not determined by affection, but by the capacity to coexist with duty without compromise. The crown tests more than patience, it tests comprehension. Can a partner absorb scrutiny without reacting impulsively? Can they respect limits that exist not for convenience, but for continuity? Can they recognize that every minor misstep has amplified consequences when the personal intersects with the institutional? These are not questions asked aloud. They are revealed through conduct, quietly, imperceptibly, but decisively. Beyond Spain's borders, observers parse these subtleties. In Washington, restraint is interpreted as a signal of reliability. In London, it is a measure of respect for precedent. In Ottawa and Canberra, it conveys predictability, assurance that the institution remains stable. In Berlin, it reflects constitutional seriousness. Each external perception reinforces the weight of alignment. The crown's legitimacy is strengthened or weakened not only by action but by interpretation. Eligibility, therefore, is structural. Love, admiration, or compatibility alone cannot determine it. Only alignment with the crown, respect for tradition, adherence to boundaries, understanding of the delicate balance between personal desire and national responsibility, signals readiness. Any deviation threatens continuity, no matter how small or private it may seem. Princess Leonor of Spain moves within these confines with awareness and discipline. Every interaction, whether observed publicly or privately, is a rehearsal in restraint. Love may exist, but it must not undermine duty. Desire may exist, but it must defer to continuity. The crown comes first, always, and every potential partner is measured against that enduring principle. As the night deepens, the palace stands quiet yet vigilant. History continues its patient watch. The institution endures, calibrated to test, observe, and preserve. And while the future remains unannounced, unresolved, and unseen, the crown remains unshaken, confident that when alignment is proven, continuity will hold, and the monarchy will remain resilient against every challenge yet to come. The early hours of dawn return, pale light brushing the palace walls, yet nothing about the routine is casual. Each corridor, each staircase, each quiet room carries weight far beyond its dimensions. For Princess Leonor of Spain, these are the moments when the living lessons of eligibility and continuity are reinforced. Potential partners are never evaluated on charm or affection alone. Their capacity to respect restraint, endure scrutiny, and align with the institution is paramount. The crown observes not just for compliance but for temperament. How does a person behave when recognition is withheld? How do they navigate expectation without overstepping boundaries? How do they internalize discipline without complaint? These questions are answered silently, in the minutiae of daily conduct. Every gesture becomes evidence, every pause a test. International observers continue their quiet measurement. In Washington, patience and composure are signals of governance under control. In London, restraint is interpreted as deference to precedent. In Ottawa and Canberra, it reassures that authority will remain consistent and unbroken. In Berlin, careful adherence to protocol demonstrates constitutional respect. Each perspective reinforces the crown's structural credibility, even before decisions are publicly acknowledged. Eligibility is therefore inseparable from duty. Love, admiration, or affection is insufficient if it threatens continuity. The institution demands alignment with centuries of precedent, understanding of ceremonial obligation, and capacity to absorb personal constraint without faltering. Disruption, however subtle, risks legitimacy. The crown comes first, and every potential partner is measured against this principle. Princess Leonor of Spain inhabits this framework with precision. Every movement, every interaction, every calculated silence affirms the enduring hierarchy: duty over desire, stability over whim, institution over individual. Love may enter quietly, but only where it does not interfere. Desire must defer. Continuity must prevail. The palace remains still, yet its vigilance is active. Observation continues. Tests remain unannounced. History waits patiently. And while the future is unresolved, the institution endures, steady, exacting, and deliberate, ensuring that when alignment is finally confirmed, the monarchy remains resilient, credible, and unbroken, prepared for whatever challenges may arise next. By mid-morning, the palace hums with quiet energy. Courtiers move with precision, guards maintain exacting routines, and the spaces between walls and corridors become stages for observation. For Princess Leonor of Spain, these rhythms are lessons in continuity. They demonstrate how eligibility is measured not by sentiment, but by an unbroken understanding of duty. Every potential partner is filtered through this lens, tested not only for decorum but for the capacity to uphold the institution without faltering. Subtle behaviors reveal the truth. How a person responds when their influence is delayed, when recognition is withheld, or when curiosity presses, these moments are far more telling than declarations of love. The crown does not rely on words. It relies on evidence of consistency, endurance, and alignment with centuries of precedent. One misstep, however slight, can ripple outward, undermining legitimacy and the perception of stability both domestically and abroad. Across continents, these patterns are being interpreted. In the United States, observers see measured composure as a signal of disciplined governance. In the United Kingdom, adherence to protocol is read as respect for the inherited order. In Canada and Australia, restraint reassures that the institution will remain predictable. In Germany, conformity to ceremonial and structural norms reflects constitutional gravity. Each international reading reinforces the quiet weight of the crown, its credibility dependent as much on perception as on practice. Eligibility is therefore structural, not emotional. Love may exist in private, but it cannot disturb the hierarchy. Affection alone cannot confer legitimacy. Only alignment with the crown, respect for tradition, awareness of boundaries, and the capacity to integrate into the institution without compromising continuity, confirms suitability. Princess Leonor of Spain moves within this system deliberately. Every gesture, every exchange, every patient silence affirms the principle that the crown comes first. Desire may exist, but it defers. Love may exist, but it is disciplined. The monarchy endures, deliberate and exacting, ensuring that when alignment is confirmed, the institution will remain unbroken, resilient, and prepared for whatever historical challenges lie ahead. As the afternoon sun drapes the palace in gold, the quiet rigor of observation continues. Nothing is left to chance. For Princess Leonor of Spain, the principle is absolute. Eligibility for union is measured against the enduring needs of the crown. Every potential partner is tested through nuance, through behavior under restraint, the ability to accept delay, the capacity to navigate expectation without faltering. Affection alone is irrelevant, alignment with duty is the metric. Subtle signals matter more than grand gestures. A misstep in patience, a failure to respect boundaries, even a moment of unintended impulsiveness can reveal incompatibility. Continuity is fragile, maintained by exacting standards. This is not about emotion, it is about survival of the institution, the living thread that ties centuries of monarchy together. International observers continue their silent appraisal. In Washington, they interpret this discipline as a signal of predictability and leadership. In London, adherence to protocol demonstrates respect for historical precedent. Canada and Australia perceive stability, reassurance that the monarchy remains measured and reliable. Germany reads restraint as constitutional fidelity. These interpretations, though distant, feed back into the structural credibility of the crown. Private life, while allowed, is subordinate to public responsibility. Love, admiration, and attraction are carefully contextualized. Only those who can reconcile personal desire with institutional duty are truly eligible. The crown's patience is a test of endurance, a measure of whether character and temperament can withstand scrutiny. Without disrupting continuity, Princess Leonor of Spain moves within this framework with conscious precision. Every action reinforces hierarchy, duty before desire, stability before impulse, institution before individual. Love may exist, but it must never override responsibility. Desire may persist, but it must bend to the crown. As evening approaches, the palace holds its stillness. History continues its quiet observation. The crown endures, deliberate, exacting, and patient. And while the future remains uncertain, every measured choice, every moment of alignment, ensures that continuity will hold, and that when the time comes, the monarchy will remain unshaken, resilient, and prepared for whatever challenges lie ahead. Night settles once again over the palace, and with it comes the weight of reflection. The corridors are empty, yet every space carries the echoes of observation, the residue of decisions made, tested, and measured. For Princess Leonor of Spain, these quiet hours are as instructive as the day itself. Eligibility is never conferred lightly, never assumed, and never based solely on affection. Every potential partner must demonstrate alignment with the crown's enduring responsibilities. The smallest gestures are scrutinized. How does a person respond when recognition is withheld? When influence is deferred? When curiosity presses too closely? These moments reveal character more decisively than any public statement. The crown observes not to punish, but to measure capacity for endurance, discretion, and structural fidelity. One misalignment can ripple outward, subtly undermining legitimacy or disrupting continuity. Across the globe, these patterns are silently interpreted. In the United States, restraint signals governance under control. In the United Kingdom, it is interpreted as fluency with precedent. Canada and Australia read consistency as assurance of stability. In Germany, adherence to protocol reflects constitutional seriousness. Even distant observation contributes to the crown's credibility at home. Love, while not prohibited, is secondary. Desire, while natural, is filtered through the prism of duty. Eligibility is structural. Respect for tradition, understanding of ceremonial boundaries, and alignment with the institution determine suitability. Anything outside these measures risks the fragile continuity the monarchy has maintained for centuries. Princess Leonor of Spain navigates this framework with awareness and precision. Every interaction, every silence, every measured gesture reinforces the hierarchy: duty before desire, institution before personal inclination. The crown comes first, always. The palace waits, deliberate and exacting. History watches, patient and impartial. And while the future remains unannounced, unresolved, and unseen, the institution endures. Each observation, each test, each proof of alignment moves the monarchy closer to certainty, ensuring that when continuity is confirmed, the crown remains resilient, credible, and unshaken, ready for whatever challenges may arise next. The first light of morning filters through the palace windows, yet nothing about the day ahead is ordinary. Every detail, from ceremonial preparation to private conversation, is part of a system designed to protect continuity. For Princess Leonor of Spain, eligibility is not determined by emotion, it is determined by alignment with the crown. Every potential partner is assessed for patience, discretion, and the ability to navigate expectations without faltering. Observation continues, quiet and exacting. How a person behaves when influence is withheld, when authority is deferred, when curiosity presses, they reveal more than declarations ever could. Charm and affection are insufficient. Only those who demonstrate endurance, understanding, and structural fidelity are considered capable of sustaining the monarchy's living thread. One lapse, however subtle, can ripple outward, weakening perception, legitimacy, and stability. International eyes remain alert. In Washington, careful composure signals predictability. In London, adherence to precedent reassures observers that inherited authority is respected. Canada and Australia measure continuity through consistency, while Germany sees restraint as constitutional alignment. These distant perceptions, though subtle, reinforce the structural credibility of the crown at home and abroad. Eligibility is therefore measured in terms of duty, not desire. Love may exist, but it cannot disrupt continuity. Affection alone is irrelevant, alignment with the institution is absolute. The crown comes first. Every choice, every test, every measured pause is part of a process designed to ensure the monarchy's endurance. Princess Leonor of Spain moves deliberately within this framework. Every interaction, every word, every silence demonstrates an understanding that duty outweighs desire, and institution outweighs individual inclination. The living thread of continuity must be preserved. The palace remains quietly vigilant. History watches patiently. And though the future remains unresolved, every action, every observation, every proof of alignment brings the monarchy closer to certainty, ensuring that when continuity is confirmed, the crown will remain unbroken, resilient, and prepared for whatever challenges may arise next. Afternoon settles across the palace grounds, and with it comes a subtle, almost imperceptible tension. The palace is still, but every movement within it is deliberate. For Princess Leonor of Spain, the principle is unyielding. Eligibility for union is never assumed, it is earned through alignment with the enduring needs of the crown. Each potential partner is tested quietly, measured not by charm, not by affection, but by their ability to absorb scrutiny, honor restraint, and respect boundaries that extend far beyond personal desire. Every action carries weight. How a person reacts when recognition is withheld, when patience is demanded, or when curiosity presses too closely, reveals their capacity to uphold continuity. The crown does not tolerate impulsivity. One misstep, however subtle, can compromise legitimacy. The monarchy has survived centuries by cultivating endurance, discipline, and fidelity to its structure, and these are the qualities it continues to seek. Global observation heightens the stakes. In Washington, analysts interpret measured restraint as a signal of governance under control. In London, adherence to tradition demonstrates fluency with precedent. In Ottawa and Canberra, it reassures stability and predictability. In Berlin, it reflects constitutional seriousness and respect for institutional boundaries. These interpretations, though distant, reinforce the crown's credibility and the perception of continuity. Love and desire, while acknowledged, are secondary. Eligibility is structural. Respect for tradition, comprehension of ceremonial and institutional limits, and the ability to integrate seamlessly into the monarchy without disrupting its continuity are the measures of suitability. Anything that threatens these measures, however subtly, risks destabilizing the fragile equilibrium the crown has maintained for centuries. Princess Leonor of Spain moves within this system with awareness and precision. Every gesture, every exchange, every silence affirms hierarchy, duty before desire, institution before personal inclination. The crown comes first. As the sun dips lower, the palace remains vigilant. Observation continues, tests persist, and history waits patiently. The institution endures, calibrated to measure alignment, enforce restraint, and safeguard continuity. And while the future remains unannounced and unresolved, the crown remains prepared, steady, exacting, and resilient, ensuring that when alignment is confirmed, the monarchy will remain unbroken, credible, and capable of weathering every challenge yet to come. Evening falls over the palace, and the shadows stretch long across corridors steeped in history. Stillness here is not emptiness, it is deliberate, a measure of the crown's enduring vigilance. For Princess Leonor of Spain, the lessons of continuity are enacted in every movement, every word, every pause. Potential partners are observed not for charm, not for passion, but for their capacity to coexist with duty without disruption. Discipline is tested in quiet moments. How does a person respond when recognition is delayed? When authority is exercised with restraint? When curiosity pushes against boundaries? These moments reveal character with clarity that public appearances never could. One lapse can ripple outward, subtly undermining legitimacy and destabilizing centuries of carefully maintained continuity. Across the globe, these subtleties are noted. In Washington, restraint signals reliability and predictability. In London, adherence to precedent reflects respect for inherited authority. In Canada and Australia, consistency reassures that the monarchy remains stable. In Berlin, composure under scrutiny demonstrates constitutional seriousness. These distant readings reinforce domestic credibility, reminding the crown that continuity depends on both action and perception. Eligibility is structural. Love, admiration, or affection is insufficient if it threatens the institution. Alignment with tradition, respect for ceremonial limits, and the ability to integrate into the monarchy without disruption are decisive. Personal desire must bend to duty. Princess Leonor of Spain moves deliberately within this framework. Every exchange, every calculated silence, every gesture affirms the hierarchy, duty before desire, institution before individual. The crown comes first. The palace holds its quiet vigilance. Observation continues. Tests remain unannounced. History watches patiently. And while the future remains unresolved, the institution endures, steady, exacting, and deliberate, ensuring that when alignment is confirmed, the monarchy will remain resilient, credible, and unshaken, prepared for the challenges that lie ahead. Night deepens over the palace, and with it comes the weight of reflection. Every hallway, every chamber, every measured step is a reminder that eligibility is never assumed. For Princess Leonor of Spain, potential partners are evaluated against the demands of continuity, not sentiment. Love may exist quietly, but it must never disrupt the structural integrity of the crown. The crown observes in ways that are subtle yet absolute. How a person responds when influence is withheld, when authority is exercised with restraint, when expectation presses, is revealed in silence and measured action. These moments, invisible to most, determine suitability more than any public display ever could. One misalignment, however small, can ripple outward, challenging legitimacy and stability. Across continents, the world interprets these signals. In Washington, composure signals predictability. In London, adherence to precedent reassures stability. In Ottawa and Canberra, quiet discipline reflects continuity. In Berlin, restraint demonstrates constitutional fidelity. Each perception, subtle but consequential, reinforces the monarchy's credibility and the stakes of alignment. Eligibility, therefore, is structural. Affection alone cannot confer suitability. Only alignment with the crown, understanding of boundaries, respect for tradition, and capacity to absorb scrutiny without faltering, confirms readiness. Desire must defer. Duty must prevail. Princess Leonor of Spain navigates this framework with conscious precision. Every word, every interaction, every pause reinforces the hierarchy, institution before individual, duty before desire. The living thread of continuity is maintained through vigilance, patience, and measured judgment. The palace is quiet, yet alive with observation. History watches, deliberate and impartial. The institution endures, exacting and patient. And while the future remains unannounced and unresolved, every test, every proof of alignment, every moment of measured restraint ensures that when continuity is confirmed, the crown will remain unbroken, resilient, and prepared for whatever challenges lie ahead. The first light of dawn creeps across the palace rooftops, illuminating corridors that have long witnessed the careful rhythms of authority. Nothing here is left to chance. Every interaction, every gesture, every moment of quiet observation serves the same purpose: to ensure that the crown remains unshaken. For Princess Leonor of Spain, eligibility is measured in alignment, endurance, and comprehension of the weight she carries. Love, while acknowledged, is secondary. Duty is absolute. Tests are quiet, almost imperceptible. How a potential partner navigates restraint, handles delayed recognition, or respects the unspoken limits of proximity reveals far more than words ever could. The crown watches not for charm or sentiment, but for the capacity to endure scrutiny without faltering. One lapse, one breach of discipline, can threaten continuity that has been preserved across generations. Observers beyond Spain's borders continue their silent evaluation. In Washington, measured restraint signals predictability and leadership. In London, deference to precedent confirms respect for inherited authority. In Ottawa and Canberra, consistent behavior reassures stability and reliability. In Berlin, careful adherence to protocol demonstrates constitutional seriousness. These interpretations, though distant, feed back into the crown's credibility, reinforcing the necessity of alignment. Eligibility is structural. Affection cannot override institutional responsibility. Only those who comprehend tradition, respect boundaries, and integrate seamlessly into the monarchy without disrupting continuity are truly suitable. Desire must bend to duty. Love may exist, but it must do so quietly and with discipline. Princess Leonor of Spain moves within this framework deliberately. Every exchange, every silence, every measured pause reinforces hierarchy: duty before desire, institution before individual. The crown comes first, always. The living thread of continuity is preserved through patient observation and deliberate action. The palace remains calm, yet vigilant. Every test continues. History watches patiently. And while the future remains unresolved, the institution endures, steady, exacting, and deliberate, ensuring that when alignment is confirmed, the monarchy will remain resilient, credible, and prepared for the challenges that lie ahead. The evening settles, thick and deliberate, across the palace, and the stillness carries weight. This is not quiet for its own sake, it is the pulse of the institution, measured and exacting. For Princess Leonor of Spain, the principles of eligibility and continuity converge here. Love may exist, desire may persist, but neither can overshadow the crown. Every potential partner is tested not in public declarations but in private endurance, in the ability to absorb scrutiny without faltering. The crown observes in silence. How a person responds when authority is withheld. When expectation is deferred, when scrutiny presses, these are the true tests. They reveal character, reliability, and alignment in ways that charm or passion never could. A single misstep, however subtle, can ripple outward, undermining legitimacy and threatening continuity. Across the world, observers read these patterns. In Washington, composure signals predictability and leadership. In London, deference reflects respect for precedent. In Canada and Australia, discipline conveys stability and reassurance. In Germany, adherence to ceremonial norms signals constitutional fidelity. Each perception, though distant, reinforces the crown's credibility and amplifies the stakes of alignment. Eligibility is structural. Affection alone does not confer legitimacy. Only those who respect tradition, comprehend boundaries, and integrate seamlessly into the monarchy without disrupting continuity are considered suitable. Desire must yield to duty. Love may exist quietly, but the crown comes first. Princess Leonor of Spain moves with conscious precision. Every gesture, every pause, every measured interaction affirms hierarchy: institution before individual, duty before desire. Continuity is not abstract, it is embodied in every step, every decision, every silent test that the institution enforces with patience and exacting standards. And now, as the palace holds its quiet vigil, the final truth remains: the crown does not choose emotionally. It chooses structurally. History continues its patient watch. The institution endures. The future remains unresolved, unannounced, and uncertain. Yet one certainty holds: when alignment is proven, the monarchy will remain unbroken, resilient, and prepared for whatever challenges lie ahead.